Sam Ho-fai declared Macau's chief executive-elect after securing 98% of the vote. Health Chief Lo Chung-mao comments on medical incidents at public hospitals involving medical interns. Hello, happy Sunday. This is TVB News. Former Macau top judge Sam Ho-fai has been elected as the Enclave's next chief executive. He received 394 votes from Macau's election committee, or around 98% of the vote. Sam said he will showcase the government's leadership qualities and speed up efforts to develop and diversify the Enclave's economy. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Sam Ho-fai, the 62-year-old former top judge and sole candidate in the election, was declared the winner of the 6th chief executive election of Macau. The voting process took place at the China Portuguese-speaking country's commercial and trade service platform complex at 10 this morning. Among the 400 election committee members, 398 turned up to cast their votes, including former chief executives Edmund Ho and Fernando Chui, as well as businessman Lawrence Ho. Vote counting began about half an hour after all ballots were cast. Sam's assumption of the role of CE was confirmed when he secured more than 200 votes. The former top judge received a total of 394 votes, more than 98% of the ballots, while 4 remaining votes were blank votes. With all votes accounted for, Song Man-lei, president of the Enclave CE Electoral Affairs Commission, declared Sam the chief executive-elect. Some thanked the nation and the support of local residents and described the current moment as the best time for diversifying Macau's economy and raising the level of governance. He added that he will unite various sectors in the city and increase the well-being of the community. The former top judge further said he will not disappoint residents' expectations. Unlike his predecessors, Sam does not have a background in the business sector, and he will be the first Macau CE to be born on the mainland, having moved to the Enclave in the 1980s. His tenure as chief executive will officially begin on the 20th of December with a 5-year term of office. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office congratulated Sam for his victory in the Enclave CE election and expressed hopes that he will unite the city and implement further reforms. In their congratulatory statement, the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office said the election process was successfully completed and reflected the Enclave's satisfaction with the former top judge. The body believes Sam will lead the Macau community towards an even better future. Incumbent Macau CE Ho Yat-seng, meanwhile, emphasized the current administration will ensure a smooth transition of power. Secretary for Health Lo Chung-mao said he had instructed the hospital authority to strengthen training for medical interns. This after 2 intubation incidents involving medical interns in public hospitals within half a year. The 2 incidents, which happened at Pamela Yu Nether Seoul Eastern Hospital and Queen Elizabeth Hospital, involved medical interns who failed to discover any errors when checking X-ray images. Lo admitted both blunders are part of a larger systemic issue. He said additional training for medical interns will begin this month. This, as authorities will also work with the medical schools of 2 local universities to review their teaching material and strengthen students' clinical training. A worker of non-Chinese descent died after falling from scaffolding in Ho Man Tin. The 50-year-old man of Nepalese descent was unconscious after the accident and was confirmed dead at Kong Hwa Hospital. The incident happened at an international school construction site on Man Phuc Road at around 11 a.m. The man fell from a 15-meter tall scaffolding. Police officers and representatives of the Labor Department arrived on site to investigate. Some industrial workers' rights groups said construction work at the school began last Friday. They're uncertain as to whether the man was wearing a safety harness while working. Today is the last day of the 3-day Double Ninth Festival long weekend, with the Zhuhai border checkpoint of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau bridge recording a peak in departures at 4 p.m. Zhuhai border authorities said passengers waiting for buses to Hong Kong and Macau must wait in queues for some 25 minutes. CCTV cameras at the checkpoint showed heavy traffic congestion. The mainland city predicted the travel peak to last until midnight. Premier Li Chang today signed 10 agreements with Vietnam, including deals on farming and cross-border trade, as his visit to Vietnam continues. David Garrett reports.
It's not all plain sailing. To Lam reportedly speaking to Lee about a recent dispute at sea. Earlier this month, Hanoi's foreign ministry said there had been a serious violation of sovereignty when Chinese law enforcement assaulted 10 Vietnamese fishermen, seizing their catch near the disputed Paracel Islands, which lie between Hainan and Vietnam. China said the fishing vessel was there illegally. Vietnamese media reports said their Communist Party chief and Lee agreed on stability at sea, although Beijing did not mention the incident in its readout of Saturday's meeting.
The United Nations said one of its peacekeepers needed surgery to remove a bullet after its South Lebanon headquarters came under fire for a second day. Italy, France, and Spain have condemned Israeli attacks on UN peacekeeping force UNIFIL, with Russia expressing outrage. U.S. President Joe Biden urged Israel not to fire on the Naqoura headquarters. Meanwhile, Israel continues to hit targets in Gaza and Lebanon. Nazvi Karim with more.
Fresh evacuation orders in northern Gaza. Air raid sirens over Israel warning of incoming Hezbollah rockets. And Iran vowing to continue support for Palestinians and Lebanese amid intensive Israeli attacks. More than a year since the start of Israel's war in Gaza, its military, the IDF, has yet to rid the strip of Palestinian group Hamas. The IDF has issued new evacuation orders for northern Gaza, saying Hamas has regrouped in the area. This man from Jabalia says he's looking for a place to go, but feels nowhere is safe. Indeed, that is a message from Hamas, who has urged residents to remain. In central Gaza, this girl is a survivor of an Israeli strike on a house that killed 7 members of the same family, including children and a woman. In Lebanon, the IDF continues its mission to push the Iran-backed militia Hezbollah out of the south so that tens of thousands of displaced people can return to their homes to the Israeli side of the border. Despite a ground incursion and airstrikes, the IDF seems no closer to its goal, with Hezbollah firing around 300 rockets into Israel on Saturday. Here, the IDF released footage of a suspicious aerial target that was intercepted over northern Israel. Israel says 50 Hezbollah fighters have been killed, while some analysts maintain that IDF troops are bogged down by enemy guerrilla tactics. Evacuation orders have been issued for more than 20 villages in the south of Lebanon. In Beirut, Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf met Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati, vowing to support the country with medical aid for the hundreds of injured during Israeli strikes on the capital. Meanwhile, charity group World Central Kitchen says it has stepped up efforts to provide food to people in Lebanon. With an escalation of hostilities between Hezbollah and Israel, the NGO says it is distributing about 50,000 meals a day. The aid group has been serving the region since Israel invaded Gaza after the October 7, 2023 attacks. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
According to NBC, citing U.S. officials, Israel has narrowed down targets inside Iran for its response to Tehran's missile barrage on October 1st. No final decision has yet been made, and there is no indication Iran's nuclear facilities will be targeted. Meanwhile, Iran has banned passengers from carrying pagers and walkie-talkies on all flights. The ban comes in the wake of last month's remote attacks when pagers and then walkie-talkies belonging to Hezbollah members exploded almost simultaneously. At least 39 people were killed and around 3,000 injured. Iran news agency ISNA, citing the Iranian aviation authorities, said the rules apply to cabin and hold luggage. Israel's spy agency is suspected of carrying out the attack, though no one has yet claimed responsibility. Mobile phones are still allowed on board aircraft. Still ahead, Kamala Harris releases her medical report, drawing contrast with rival Donald Trump. 6,000 cycling enthusiasts take part in this year's Hong Kong Cyclothon. And a report on the city's preparations for hosting some events of the National Games next year. Welcome back. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris's doctor says the Democratic nominee possesses the physical and mental resiliency to serve as president. Harris was quick to say that election rival Donald Trump has revealed little about his health history, even after the assassination attempt 3 months ago. David Garrett reports.
Kamala Harris said by doctors to be in excellent health. The 59-year-old releasing medical records, drawing a contrast between herself and 78-year-old rival, former U.S. President Donald Trump.
I released my medical records, as has, I believe, every candidate for president of the United States except Donald Trump in this election cycle. And it's just a further example of his lack of transparency, that on top of his unwillingness to debate again, his unwillingness to do an interview with 60 Minutes, which again is part of the norm of what anyone running for president of the United States does. And I think that it's obvious that his team, at least, does not want the American people to see everything about who he is.
Harris says Trump is not fit to lead.
I invite the public to watch his rallies and be the decision maker on his acuity.
In an unorthodox move, Trump rallied in deep blue California.
But we have to win. Too big to rig.
Earlier in Nevada, he told a Latino roundtable that their jobs are at threat from immigrants. More of the same in Harris's native state, where she was Attorney General. Trump says Harris's radical left are destroying the Golden State.
California has the highest inflation, the highest taxes, the highest gas prices, the highest cost of living, the most regulations, the most expensive utilities, the most homelessness, the most crime, the most decay, and the most illegal aliens. Other than that, I think you're doing quite well, actually. We're not going to let Kamala Harris do to America what she did to California. We're not going to let it happen.
Another area where the Republicans and Democrats diverge is gun control and ownership. Harris wants stricter laws. The vice president and running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, have surprised some by being gun owners. Walz was pheasant shooting in his home state as the season opened. He is keen to show his everyday man qualities. With the election just 22 days away, candidates are searching out those final votes. David Garrett, TVB News.
More than 6,000 cyclists joined the races in the Hong Kong Cyclothon today. A cyclothon carnival was also introduced for the first time. Mimo Singhai reports.
The first event in this year's Hong Kong Cyclothon was the 50-kilometer race, which started at 5:15 a.m. Four-time Tour de France winner Chris Froome was among the riders. Yeah! From the starting point of Salisbury Road in Tsim Sha Tsui, cyclists must go through bridges and tunnels such as Cheung Ting Tunnel and Tingo Bridge before finish off at Jordan Road flyover.
What an amazing way to start the day this morning. Seeing Hong Kong by bike through all the main roads, it's just such a pleasure. I mean, I think these are roads that cyclists would never normally get the chance to enjoy.
The 32-kilometer race started just before 8 a.m. While the race had the same start and finish points as the 50-kilometer event, people can cycle on Tingo Bridge for the first time. An accident happened during the race. Two cyclists stopped on the side of the highway because their bikes broke down. Meanwhile, the Men's Open and Women's Open of the City Cycling Challenge around the Greater Bay Area kicked off at around noon. The race attracted tourists, including this man whose father was a professional cyclist.
We were just stepping out to go have coffee, and we saw this, and I stopped because I know that my dad really enjoys this. So I've been taking some video to send to my dad. He lives in Panama. It reminds me of going to see my dad race in Panama when he was, younger.
Just been having some dim sum in the hotel. So then we saw this and we thought we must watch it. Well, it's very exciting. And amazing how quickly they cycle, extremely fast.
Members of the public can also enjoy different activities and performances at the Cyclophone Carnival in the West Kowloon Cultural District. For instance, cyclists could shop cycling products or repair their bikes at these stores. Individuals could also take pictures at some photo spots after the races. News 9 TVB News.
The 15th National Games will be held in November next year. With around 1 year to go, the government's National Games Coordination Office has been recruiting volunteers and planning logistical arrangements for the contests. Jackie Lin spoke with the office's head on their latest preparations.
For the first time, Hong Kong will co-host the National Games. From November 9th through the 21st next year, 8 sporting events will be staged in the SAR, including fencing, rugby sevens, beach volleyball, golf, triathlons, men's handball, men's under-22 basketball and track cycling, alongside events in Macau and Guangdong. Hong Kong will also host bowling as a mass participation event. Speaking with TVB News, Yeon Tak-keung, head of the National Games Coordination Office of the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau, said preparations are full steam ahead. Never before have we hosted this cross-border events such as the road bikes and also the marathon. Any logistical challenges?
To choose a suitable route, is already a challenge, and also we would like to minimize the impact to the other users, to the road users. It's not an easy task.
There will be staff and volunteers to help divert traffic with multiple locations under consideration, including the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. But that begs another question: manpower. Yeung says so far 30,000 people have applied to be volunteers, but training will be needed. Another manpower issue. Do we actually have enough umpires and referees for sporting events?
If there's a need, we can ask the mainland authorities to provide supplementary resources to us.
The fencing, handball and rugby events will be held at Kai Tak Sports Park. Yeung said they will not compete with other major entertainment events to be hosted at the park. Trial events will be undertaken too as rehearsals. For instance, the triathlon will take place in the central harbourfront and beach volleyball around Victoria Park. On the Hong Kong Commissioner for Sports, we know Sam Wong stepped down and he's succeeded by George Choi, another government official. Some people have concerns that it's better to have athletes with frontline experience to really accommodate the sporting policies and come up with, have advice on the sporting policies. Do you agree with that?
The Commissioner for Sports, it is carrying, it is responsible for formulating and implementing of sports policies. But of course, if the post holder is knowledgeable in sports, it could help. I think we should not say whether only a certain type of people can do the job. We can cast a vote neither.
Jackie Lin, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.